So you know what the old saying in baseball is, right? No, it is. There's no crying in baseball. But I don't actually have any tears. So I was like walking here and I got like a mosquito in my eye and like can't get it. I don't know if it's a mosquito or a gnat, but like, and I don't want to put like my finger in the eye because that's dirty. Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, the umpires have gone wild. Aaron Judge ejected from his first game in a Major League uniform, maybe in the first game of his entire life. We'll kind of look at what's going on with these umpires later. There's been a lot of stuff going on. Really haven't dived in before because usually, players get thrown out. It's not a big deal, but really there's been a rash of it and a rash around the Yankees there. So we'll get into all that. And it's just beyond our favorite umpire, Angel Hernandez. We'll also take a look at maybe a solution for that. That's the ABS system, the automated strike ball system that's being tested right now in the minors. Might be able to alleviate some of those problems. Never really discussed that before either on the show, but maybe now that this is an issue, we'll kind of dive into that and see if maybe that would be a good idea to really remove the umpires from calling ball and strikes, which would kind of remove a lot of these headaches. And also we'll look at Nestor Cortez, okay this season, but a little bit of Jekyll Hyde on the road versus home, so look at the splits there. And last but not least, it looks like Aaron Boone heard my screams, heard my prayers of stretching out Clay Holmes. Looks like he's finally doing that, so we'll also give a little spotlight to Clay Holmes, who's getting an outstanding start of the season there, and now we're finally seeing Boone use him more than 3 outs there, so we'll dive into that. A lot of good stuff, as well as Cole making his way back, finally getting on the mound there, so he works his way back into the Yankee rotation. A lot of good stuff here, there, but there's going to be a lot of ump bashing, so get ready. So if you hate umpires, this is the episode for you. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the audio podcast version of this show, so wherever you get your favorite podcasts, look for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, and of course, you're watching right now on YouTube, whether it's your first time or a millionth time, make sure you're subscribed here. And if you happen to be watching on TV, TV's cool, but online is like the new thing that the kids use. You want to make sure you get everything. So go wherever you get your audio podcast, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, and hop over YouTube as well. Cover all the bases. So, Aaron Judge, I'm sure you saw in that Saturday game, gets thrown out by Ryan Blakeney. Now, this was a pitch that was kind of outside him, and, it was kind of obvious. It wasn't like a borderline pitch, but it seemed like as Judge was walking away from the plate, he might have muttered something, and the umpire gave him the quick hook there, which was kind of surprising. It wasn't like Judge turned around or, said anything or got in his face or something like that. I mean, there's a lot more things that get you thrown out than just kind of walking away and making a comment as you're shrugging your shoulders a little bit there. So, that umpire with the quick hook there, and really just kind of underscores what's been going on really at the start of the season there. Now, again, as mentioned before, you have your favorite umpires like Angel Hernandez and CB Buckner, who are just horrible. We all know that, and that's been going on for years. Really can't do anything about it just with the umpires union. I guess, other than maybe murdering somebody, you really can't get rid of these guys. So this got like job security, even though they're completely horrible. But now we've been seeing other incidents. Again, we got this incident here with Judge getting thrown out. And then a couple weeks ago, I didn't really get into it because, whatever. Umpires, managers get thrown out all the time, but he had the situation that was with Hunter Wendelstedt throwing out Aaron Boone not even saying anything. Basically, it was a fan like in the first or second row. They yelled something, but it was the start of the game. It was a matinee game. The stadium was empty, so those are the type of games where you can hear people's voices actually more in the crowd. And actually, if you're listening on the radio or TV, you could hear voices. So this hears a fan say something, thought it was Aaron Boone, and he tosses Boone from the game. They go nose to nose, and Boone literally says, "Look, I didn't say anything." The umpire at that point, Hunter says, "I don't really care," and even though he kind of recognized he did make the mistake there, at that point you really can't go back. So the good news with that they didn't give Boone a fine, so I believe you fined like $10,000 or something if you do get thrown out of the game. So Major League Baseball looked at this situation again, realized Boone didn't say anything, it was the fan. So yeah, Boone got kicked out of the game, but obviously, he didn't get fined there. But again, this has been going on now. It's been really crazy, especially with the Yankee organization. Now look, some of it's self-inflicted. Aaron Boone himself, since he's been the Yankee manager in 2018, he leads Major League Baseball in getting thrown out 34 times. And you remember last season as well, getting thrown out almost every other week. Now, I think a lot of that had to do with this because the Yankee team was not that good. So obviously, if you're losing or players aren't doing well, and look, Billy Martin used to do it all the time. You got to fire your team up a little bit. So you get there, you argue your call, you figure it fires your team up a little, and they play a little bit more passionate. So some of that might be a little strategic, but also Boone has been going off the handle lately. Again, a lot of the Yankees balking and stuff like that. So I think a lot of this is building, and this gets to the point where you take someone like Aaron Judge, who's like Mr. America or the Yankee captain, stuff like that, and even he makes a little comments. You know what? I just think some of the umpires are just fed up with the Yankee organization, and that's why you saw Aaron Judge get the quick hook like that. And now for Aaron's defense, look, he's had the most cold strikes on him than like any other player, and we know the situation with him. He's 6'7". He doesn't have the typical body as the usual other baseball players there. So umpires are going to be able to maybe call a strike on him that normally wouldn't, just because of the way his body is. So a lot of that just has to do with his physicality, but also again with this Yankee organization and boom, they have been balking at umpires now. It's been going on for the past couple of years. So I'm sure amongst the umpires, the Yankees aren't actually their favorite team that we're working with there, and you see a lot of frustration mounting. But again, some of it I think is self-inflicted because again, if you just look at last season with Aaron Boone, just all his antics there, he's been kind of asking for it, and that's why you see the situation like with Hunter threw him out so quickly there, just because his reputation has been doing this. So some of it is self-inflicted, and I think with Aaron Judge in that spot there, clearly it was a ball, it was outside him. I mean, I saw that before Judge got upset about it. But obviously we see with Aaron Judge not off to a good start to the season. So is it like some of his frustrations at the plate also mounting up to him to snap like that? Yeah. So I think it's just a lot of these storms come together. But we see what the situation is with these umpires. There's been a lot of bad calls, a lot of blown calls, a lot of weird strikes like that. More than ever. And we always complain about the umpires, but even back in the day, you look at it, they would get it right most of the time. But lately, there's been getting a lot of stuff wrong. All type of theories what that could be. You look at some of the pitches now. This is not 1989 anymore, where like your typical pitcher throws like 92 miles per hour and it's just kind of straight fastball. Pretty easy to call balls and strikes. You see these guys now throwing 100 miles per hour, ripping off wicked sliders at 95 miles per hour, crazy spin rates. And you see where people like frame pitchers like Trevino, he'll swipe his glove across the plate there to steal a lot of what should be a ball, should be a strike, and vice versa. So you have catches now that are catching the ball differently. You have pitches that are throwing balls that get weird spin rates, weird angles on some of these sliders and breaking pitches that maybe, frankly, the umpires, it's just more than the human eye could catch up with. So that could be part of the problem there. And maybe, and then we'll get into this soon, we'll have to move to an automated strike zone, which I've been against there, but if these umpires are blowing so many strikes and balls like that, it changes the whole complexion of the game. I mean, if you're there as a batter, if you're up 1-0 versus 0-1, it changes the complete complexion of the bat, of what the pitch is, how the pitch is going to come after like that. So you want to get these calls right, and it seemed like baseball, did that with the instant replay, which again, I didn't love it at first, but the way they worked it in, they've kind of got it formulated, kind of does work. They don't drag it out too long there, and they've been getting a lot of blown calls right there. And just for the, just for the sanctity of the game, the good of the game, you want to make sure you get these calls right. And if now they got to, get this to the strike zone to make that work, maybe that's something to be considered there. So for Aaron Judge, I guess he gets off the ejection schneid there. Now you look at him as the Yankee captain, so it's his first. Now the previous Yankee captain, Derek Jeter, that never happened to him before, and he's similar. Him and Judge the same way. I mean, they never really yell or curse or scream at an umpire. You'll see them maybe make a comment on the way out, which is what this was. So I think this umpire was definitely give Judge the quick hook for no reason. Now, if you're telling me that maybe the whole game Judge was chirping at him, we didn't see it on TV, maybe that could have happened there. But definitely the umpire with the quick hook there, and definitely a couple weeks ago, Wendell Stett with the quick hook there on Aaron Boone when Boone didn't say anything. It was literally like the first batter of the game there, and the umpire was ready to throw him out. So it seems like a lot of stuff is just mounting these umpires. They really just, whether it's the Yankee organization or they're just pissed off in general about the players balking at them. Or maybe they just feel what's coming around the corner. Now they're called out. You have these replays now on TV and ESPN, all these shows when the umpire is wrong. Maybe the umpires hear the whispers about the ABS system that is going to be ready going on the minors, might replace their work in the major league level. And now they're acting defensive, and they get scared of this, what's coming around the corner there. And maybe that's what's making them a little bit more anxious. So could a lot of these things working at once there. But nevertheless, again, and going back to the Yankee captains there, it was the first Yankee captain since Don Mattingly, so that was 94. That was the previous Yankee captain thrown out of the game, so it's like 30 years ago there. So I guess Aaron Judge, breaks the glass on that one, but he didn't deserve it. Again, he just made a little comment walking away there. But you see these umpires now being a little bit more fierce, and I think because maybe they read the writing on the wall, and with replay already overturning a lot of their calls and embarrassing them. Now with the strike zone as well, it's pretty much really taking the umpires out of the game a lot, which I've been against it, but maybe now we need to start considering it. So before the start of the season, usually as we always do, we kind of go over what the new rules are going to be. So might have touched on this very briefly, just because rules are kind of boring. I want to dive into it well, but of course now, as it relates to talking about an automated ball and strike system at home plate here, I guess now would be a time to really dive into deep. And now this is from an article from Baseball America back in March of 2024, so just a couple of months ago, kind of detailed what this was going to be, how they're going to roll this out again. So they're experimenting with this. As you may recall, the ghost runner, which is now, you see it in extra inning games during the regular season here on the majors, something they tested in the minors. So I guess this is something they're only testing in the minors at this time. But of course, if they're testing it there, at some point it's probably going to come to the majors. Probably the umpires here know about that, and that's why they're being maybe a little chippy, a little anxious. They feel maybe maybe they will bruise their ego there a little bit, so why they want to throw a player out when they want to argue balls and strikes there. But nevertheless, so it's called ABS, so it stands for automated ball strike. So that's no, didn't take an Einstein to come up with that one. So they're testing it in AAA and the low A Florida State League. So that's the FSL there. So trying it in AAA as well as FSL. Now there's two different strike zones, and I'll actually get into that. So they actually have two different strike zones. They're experimenting with this, which I don't know why, just should all be uniform. But nevertheless, so it will call all pitches from the games that go on from Tuesday through Thursday. So it's not going to be every game, but this is the games that go on between Tuesday and Thursday. The umpire basically will wear an earpiece, so you still have an umpire behind the plate, and I guess as the pitch comes in, they get notified, ball, strike, and they'll throw up their arm. So it's similar to what you see now, but pitchers and catchers now have the earpiece, so similar to that, so the umpire will just wait there, pitch comes in, and if it's a ball or a strike, the umpire just will raise the hand or make the call right there, then and there. So I guess the look of it is kind of the same, and we've seen this like with Joe West. I remember him, like he an umpire, like a pitcher would come in, and it'll take him like 10 seconds to throw his arm out to signify what it is. So, this is not really going to be anything different from that. Maybe a slight delay, but not much. So at least the aesthetics kind of look the same there. But now, from the games that are from Friday to Sunday now, where now the umpires, again, is calling it naturally, no help from the strike zone, but each team could have 3 challenges. So any time of the game where, let's say, the real human umpire who's calling balls or strikes blows it, a team could challenge the ball or strike. They'll look at the replay, and if it turns out you get overturned, you're not charged one of your challenges. But of course, if you challenge the ball or strike and you're wrong, then you lose the challenge. So similar like the NFL with the the replays and the timeouts used like that there. So you have it quasi, they're working in there where, again, the machines will be calling it Tuesday through Thursday. Then you got the human umpire calling the Friday to Sunday games with the human, but using the ABS system there to help with replay if a team wants to challenge there. So it's kind of interesting how they integrated that. Just want to see how it works. Now, they got only get, but they are doing it. They have 2 different strike zones. So the AAA strike zone is 17 inches wide. But you figure you want a standard for everybody because a strike here should be a strike there, should be a strike there, but no, that's not the case. In the Florida State League strike zone, that's going to be 20 inches, so it's a little bit bigger. Now, the only reason I think maybe they're only doing that is because, again, these are like low A ball players, so again, their stuff isn't going to be fine-tuned as someone who's AAA ready, so you figure, all right, give them a little wider strike zone, maybe helps them with, with more strikes and stuff like that, and have less walks in the game. So you got to understand why maybe they would do that there, but again, they're experimenting with these 2 strike zone. But if this does get switched over to the major league level, assume you'll get the 17-inch strike zone just because that's more major league ready than the other one. Now, with the Florida State League, I guess there's 10 teams there. Now, only 9 out of the 10 teams have this equipment stored, so I don't know why that is. Looks like the Daytona team, they don't have it, so 9 out of 10 ballparks is being used. So there's one ballpark, I guess, if you're just playing in Daytona, it's just not used, and I guess they just go old school. The umpire calls everything. So that's the stipulation. So they are trying this out in AAA, so it's going to be close. And hey, look, this might be a solution because if you have an automated strike and ball zone in the major league level, well, you're not going to argue with the umpire because he's just telling what the machine's telling him. So it almost really cuts down on ejections because you're not going to curse at the umpire. Maybe you curse at the sky or whatever like that, but you're not going to curse at the umpire. So because he's just calling, telling what the machine's doing him, so it's not his fault. Maybe there'll be a challenge system as well. I could see that happening. But I think what that leads to is less players being thrown out because if you're not arguing with the umpire, if the manager's not barking or people aren't barking from the dugout at the umpire, then you have less ejections. So it might be good for the game, and if you keep a player in there, hey, he's in there for 2 more innings, maybe hits more, maybe it's a home run, stuff like that. So it might actually be, for the good of the game. So I guess we'll leave the umps aside. Let's get to the players, which are a little bit more exciting. Yankees getting some good news, and as kind of mentioned was going to happen, Garrett Cole finally throwing off a mound there. So again, taking the next step as his progression back. So this was on May 4th. It was basically the game that Aaron Judge got thrown out there, so kind of funny. But nevertheless, threw 15 pitches, just fastballs only. Had no complaints afterwards, so that's good there. So again, Aaron Boone, the manager, mentioned that a 4 to 6 week timetable for him to really get back with the team and be pitching in a Yankee uniform. Could that be maybe sometime in late June? Again, if you want to just look at the timetable, you're probably looking at a late June time. Now, we thought initially be in early June, but nevertheless, more or less looks like June is going to be the timetable when we could see Garrett Cole returning and barring any setbacks, which right now looks like there are none. And this is good for the Yankee Yokes right now because, the rotation has been holding down the fort for the most part. Even with Luis Gil, is going to kind of make things interesting. If the Cole comes back, do you stick with Clarke Schmidt, who you used pretty much a lot of last season as well as this season, or Luis Gil with his potential with his arm there, you want to see that flourish. Where the Yankees are going to go with that one. So again, those decisions yet to be made, but it looks like Garrett Cole taking the baby steps back there. Again, just to play, just to fool around a little bit, I think what would be best is keep Luis Gil as the 5th starter and Clarke Schmidt. That now that the Yankee bullpen a little bit depleted. Again, we kind of went over that in the last episode a little bit. Again, it's been good, it's been solid, but a little bit thinner than what we've used to in the past. I think Clarke Schmidt would be a great boost for the Yankee bullpen, and kind of what's the tools he's learned again as a starter to get pitches, variation working on his other pitches there. If he can bring that in the bullpen, he has an arm as a starter, so he could go long, he could go multiple innings. You could pitch probably on back-to-back nights, stays a little bit more durable. So if it comes down to Clarke Schmidt or Luis Gil, I'd rather leave Luis Gil in the rotation and move Clarke Schmidt to the bullpen. I think he could help the Yankees there. And Gil, again, has had some really fabulous, spring was great. That's why he earned the 5th starter job there. And you just want to see how he could progress there, because this with his fastball there, I think he has a higher ceiling than Clarke Schmidt there. So I'd rather see more Gil than Schmidt. And it's almost not worth mentioning, but I guess you do have to kind of mention that DJ LeMay was still trying to work his way back. Now, it looks like he has been taking some hitting and light running and fielding, but it got not to the point where, Aaron Boone wants to announce any sort of rehab for him again. They already struck out on that one, tried a couple weeks ago, and literally had one at-bat, struck out, and then had to be removed from the game, getting soreness with that foot. So, looks like he's going to give it another go at some point. Again, they haven't given a timetable when his rehab is going to be, but it still seems like it's going to be, still quite, in the distant future there. So, I don't really know what they're doing with this guy. I mean, look, if he's hurt, I had mentioned last episode, just have the surgery and get it over with if you need surgery. I don't know why they're just dragging us out the whole season. But again, I just don't think DJ is going to be much of a factor of this team this year, unfortunately. Again, we'd like to have DJ back. We'd like to have the old DJ back. But again, I just think those days are gone there. So nevertheless, they're kind of just kicking the tires in DJ. So let's see what happens. Again, maybe the second go around, maybe the foot heals better. Who knows? But it doesn't seem the case. But the Yankees did get a little good news. John Birdie finally back. Again, he was kind of, instrumental. Again, he could play third base as well as shortstop. He was really good during that Houston series there, but of course, he was on the IL for a while with a strained abductor. And again, the Yankees have been a little bit thin in the infield as well as on the bench, and that's why you kind of see Gleyber Torres really getting still, even though he's been struggling, still getting all the playing time he is, because again, Yankees have been kind of a little thinned out there in the infield and on the bench, but now with John Birdie back, I think maybe now put some pressure on some of the players like a Gleyber maybe to hit. Otherwise, if he's threatened to lose some more bats there, maybe it'll inspire to play better. But good news, John Birdie's back. Now, last episode, we kind of previewed that the Yankees were going to have this big showdown with the Baltimore Orioles. Didn't really turn out well for the Yankees in a 4-game series. The Yankees lose 3 out of 4 there. And in the one game they did won, ironically, Luis Gil, who I mentioned before, outdueled Corbin Burns. And the Yankees won the game 2-0 there. And it really was on to one swing. It was Oswaldo Cabrera, a home run ball that just snuck in there in right field there. So the Yankees kind of got lucky on one swing. So other than that, the Yankees kind of took one on the chin. That's probably the first, of the whole year so far. I mean, again, the Yankees have dropped some series before. We've seen that, no big deal. But that's one that they really took it on the chin hard there. Now, the Yankees got destroyed, but really the Yankee offense didn't even show up for any of those games there. And again, one game the Yankees won, they won the game 2-0 there. It was just off of one swing as well, the Cabrera there. So, I wouldn't put too much stock in it. A couple of factors you have to work in there. Number one, Carlos Rendon, who for the most part for the season for the Yankees has been really good. Again, he's been scuffling a little bit, so just, bad start at a bad time. Yankees could easily even split that series 2-2 there, so I don't think there's any sort of statement game either way. Again, the scores were very low. There was only that one score where Rendon got beat up there a little bit. But on that, the scores are relatively close. It's just the Yankee offense, which has been going on a little bit, with them on and off. This was a no-show at Camden Yards there, so again, I wouldn't put any panic. I don't think it was any sort of statement game like that there. So again, but they took it on chin, whatever. You just tip your cap. You're still going to face the Orioles a couple more times this season there. So the Yankees have an opportunity to sort of right the ship a little bit, and that you just hope you get maybe Aaron Judge swinging better, Rizzo, who again was hitting the ball much better after that Baltimore series again had some big hits at home against Detroit in that series there. Judge picked it up a little bit again after getting thrown out there. You saw him go yard there, as well as Juan Soto with a big hit there. So, Judge, Soto, Rizzo, all hitting a little better after that Baltimore series. So I guess, if those three are going well, I think the Yankees will have a better showing against them. And right now, it looks like the Baltimore and the Yankees, again, you don't want to look at the standings too early. Again, it's not even June yet. It's just as May just started pretty much. Don't go crazy over the standings. But right now, it looks like Baltimore and the Yankees are probably going to be the two that are going to be competing for most of the season. Maybe you see a little spurt from Tampa or Toronto, but it doesn't look like Tampa doesn't look that great this season as we've been used to them. So it looks like it's going to be Yankees, Baltimore the whole way there. It'll be back and forth there. But right now, again, no, I don't think any big statements made either way there. But look, you just tip the cap to the Orioles. They beat the Yankees up a little bit. Okay, fine. Let's get them next time. And part of the reason the Yankees lost that series in Baltimore was because of this, I've been calling it the Jekyll and Hyde of Nestor Cortes 2024. Of course, working his way back and missed a lot of last season. This season is a little bit bumpy, but not only just bumpy in general, but really if you look at the splits between home and away, the New York Post actually dived into that, and it's actually quite stunning. And, of course, you like to, you want Nestor to pitch well at Yankee Stadium, of course, but you need Nestor, you need the good Nestor on the road, and he was that in the past, but it looks like this season hasn't been the case there. Really, he's been warmed up to the home cooking. That's good, but of course we need the better Nestor on the road there. But if you look at some of these stats there, it's actually quite stunning just how the difference he's been on the road versus home. So 8 games so far this season. Now you look at his overall record, not great, 1-3. ERA, okay, 3.72. Now again, that's overall both home and away. But now if you look at the splits there, you can definitely see a difference there. So on the road, he has an ERA of 6.75, so an ERA over 6 on the road, not good at all, and has given up 26 hits in only 20 innings. So he's given up almost more than a hit per inning on the road there. Now, if you compare that to versus home at Yankee Stadium, completely different pitcher. In fact, all 4 starts at Yankee Stadium has gone 7 innings or more. And of course, you remember the game against Miami, they went the full distance there. So been much better at home there. He's only given up a total of 16 hits at home there, and only 4 of those 16 hits have been for extra bases there. So been very good at home there. And then if you look at only 5 earned runs in 28 and a third innings at home there, and it's a home ERA of 1.58. So take his home ERA of 1.58 versus on the road, he's 6.75. So it's almost like a 5-run difference on the ERA there. So it's a big gap there. Now they asked Nestor Cortes, what's the difference? He just says he likes pitching in front of the Yankee Stadium crowd. He just feels like, the crowd gets pumped up. It just motivates him to pitch better. That's all well and good, but you need to also do that on the road. And hey, look, wherever you go, you can have some Yankee fans in the stands as well there. So if you want to, make the Yankee fans happy in the stands when you're on the road, pitch a little bit better on the road. But one pitcher we don't have to worry about whether he's on the road or at home has been Clay Holmes as he continues his really perfect start to the season there. I mean, in the ERA of 0.00, doesn't get more perfect than that. Go over the numbers there, but finally, I guess Aaron Boone, I don't know if he's watching the show or heard him from other areas, you finally now see Boone, let him off the leash a little bit, and how he's been going after batters for more than just 3 outs there. So Boone finally extending Clay Holmes a little bit. Now I complained about that, previously here, as well as on the audio podcast. You need to stretch him out just a little bit. I understand it's early in the season, you want to burn him out, and Holmes, even back from 2022, had, in the second half of that season, did have some shoulder problems there. So I get all that, but there's been opportunities where, again, I count at least 2 games the Yankees lost because they didn't extend Holmes. They had to go out for another inning, and that was, of course, the Sunday finale game against the Cleveland Guardians on the road. Again, the Yankees had the lead there. He only pitched 10 or 11 pitches under no stress. Clearly, Boone could have sent them out there for one more inning there, and extra innings, and the Yankees probably would have won the game. And of course, you look at the opening Milwaukee game where Yankees clawed their way back, took a lead, only used Holmes for 1 inning, but again, because Boone didn't want to extend them after 10 pitches there, brought in someone else, and of course, the Yankees ended up blowing the game there. So those are 2 losses, 2 more wins the Yankees could have had. But it looks like finally now Aaron Boone is finally letting him off the leash a little bit, and we saw it twice. We saw it in the 2-0 Baltimore win there. He brought Holmes in early to get a big out in the 8th, because sometimes that out there in the 8th might be bigger than the 3 batters you're going to face there, or the situation you faced in the 9th there. So he did it there, and also one of the games, the Detroit game, one of the wins the Yankees got at home against Detroit. Again, it brought in Clay Holmes in a little bit early to go after 4 batters instead of this customary 3 there. So I like that Boone's doing that. I don't think you should do it all the time on a case-by-case basis, but if you have a win right in front of you, and again, as long as Holmes didn't struggle, was not didn't have that under stress in the inning before, something like that, use him for an extra bat or two, or use him for an extra inning, and just maybe just give him the next 2 nights off there, because that win there, you might not be in a position to win the next 2 games. You might be getting blown out 10-0, or you might be ahead of the team 10-0, where Clay Holmes is not even on the table yet, and then you're throwing Trevino out there as a catcher, as a joke, just to throw knuckleballs in there, because the game's a laugher at that point there. So if I see if you get the wins, you get the wins right there, get it, and if you got to extend Holmes for a batter or two, or an even inning or more there, as long as he's not under duress, I think Boone should do it, and it looks like Boone's finally doing that, Clay Holmes, so I like that. And as I promised you, again, his start has been great to the season, so let's just go over his numbers now. This is in 16 games so far this season, as mentioned before, 0.00 ERA, so throwing the goose eggs up there, you like to see that. Got 11 saves and 18 strikeouts in 16.1 innings, so again, he's averaging more than a strikeout per inning, which you'd like to see. And again, we've seen Clay Holmes be this dominant for this patch there. Remember, Cashman did bring him in late 2021, and if you look for that period from late 2021 when he became the Yankee closer, he took the job from Chapman to start the 2022 season there, he had a bit, at least that season in 2022, the first half, that he had an ERA of 0.90. So this guy was pitching to an ERA less than 1. So we've seen him be this dominant before, but then unfortunately midway 2022 he hit the wall a little bit. Then it was really unreliable, shaky the whole way. Last season was okay a little bit, but again, it wasn't out a good Yankee team there, so he didn't get really consistent work there. So I'm not going to blame him too much, but he did rectify himself a little bit last season. But this season, again, even though kind of offseason, what kind of question should the Yankees bring another closer? I thought maybe we should have kicked the tires on one. I was okay starting Holmes as a closer for the season just to see how it would work, but hey, look, I guess the Yankees and Cashman knew better there, because again, Clay Holmes off to an excellent start. You want to keep him there, but again, if you got to extend him a little bit, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. And again, it looks like Aaron Boone's finally doing that. And it's no secret, since Aaron Boone has inserted Anthony Volpe into the leadoff spot there, he's been struggling a little bit. Of course, we know he had the great spring, got off to a really good start to the season there, especially during that Houston series, was swinging a hot bat there, kind of, usually hitting 6 low in the lineup there. But of course, as we know, Gleyber Torres off to a horrible start of the season. Really, the whole season has been bad for him. That gets the only bright spot of the Baltimore series. He finally hit a home run. Great. But other than that, it's been a disaster for Gleyber Torres. Now, I mentioned at some point a couple of weeks ago that probably would see a switch there of putting Anthony Volpe in the leadoff spot. But it looks like Gleyber was just so bad, Aaron Boone had to finally do it, and that was on April 10th. It's probably much sooner than Boone wanted to do it, but he had no choice there because his Torres was just an automatic out. But of course, Volpe, then once he was in that leadoff spot there, he saw his back cool off a little bit. Now, they've asked Aaron Boone about that. Does he think the switch has been the cause of that? Now, he says no. He calls it the normal ebbs and flow of a season, and he's confident that Volpe will kind of get back. But of course, what else is he going to say? I mean, I don't know who else you could really put in there in the leadoff spot. Maybe Birdie, that he's back a little bit, could do that. Maybe as well the Cabrera. None of them are really ideal leadoff hitters as well. And this really goes back a problem the Yankees had really for a while. I mean, they really haven't had a leadoff hitter in a very long time. I mean, I really want to almost go back to Chuck Knobloch. That's really the last time the Yankees had a true leadoff hitter in that spot. Other than that, you have guys that are normally supposed to be like a 2-hitter, like a Derek Jeter or DJ LeMahieu or like a Gleyber Torres. I mean, those guys are more like number 2 hitters, if anything, not leadoff hitters. So, but nevertheless, it's a merry-go-round for the Yankees. But he's going to stick with Volpe there. No plans to switch him out because I don't know who else you're going to put there. And I hated a couple seasons ago when they used to put like Aaron Judge in the leadoff spot, or sometimes when they used to experiment, put like Rizzo as a leadoff hitter there. I don't like those funky lineups. I like someone like a more typical leadoff hitter there. So I guess this through the process of elimination right now, who's hitting, who's not, you have no choice really to stick with Volpe. Now, he hasn't been terrible if you want to look at his numbers right now. Hitting .252, which isn't great. Now, it's not as good as his spring and the start of the season, but much better than what we saw last year with Volpe. Volpe ended at 206 there, so he is hitting about 50 points higher than he did last season, at least at this point there, with 3 home runs, 13 RBIs, and you want to look at just how he compares against his teammates. He's tied with Juan Soto right now for runs scored with 23, and of course he leads the team with 7 stolen bases there. So yeah, even though he hasn't been as hot as the start of the season in spring training, still much better than last season. And really, Aaron Boone has no choice because I don't know who else you're going to go to. He definitely not go back to Gleyber Torres, who Gleyber Torres right now looks just completely lost there, so I don't know what we're going to do with him. But nevertheless, he's still probably going to get Volpe still leading off it. So whether you like it or don't like it, get used to it. So that was the episode. Hope you enjoyed. Again, Aaron Judge kicked out of the first game, so no longer a Boy Scout. Maybe he'll start getting some gold change and a sleeve tattoo like Verdugo. Probably not, but nevertheless, these umpires are going to be out of the gun, so let's see if they can clean up their act. So make sure you subscribe to the audio podcast version of the show, as well as here on YouTube. And again, if you're watching on TV, you got to do both. We'll catch you next time.